ESPN senior writer Sam Borden traveled to France, Wales, and England to report on this tragedy, and he has written an incredible story in search of Emiliano Sala. You can catch it on ESPN.com. Sam, what's the latest?
Yeah, so the search, I mean, this is 2 weeks now since this plane has disappeared, and the search over this past weekend underwater finally found the wreckage of the plane. One body inside. At this point, it's still not clear whether it's Emiliano Sala or the pilot, David Ibbotson. The situation as it stands right now is the people in charge of the search are trying to figure out how can they get the plane off the floor, off the seabed, without disturbing the body that's inside.
And the search was called off at one point. How did they actually find this evidence at this point?
Yeah, so one of the things that was most interesting to me when I was reporting was that the initial search by the Channel Islands Search Committee was run by volunteers. And their initial search was by plane and by boat. Obviously, after a couple of days, it was pretty clear that the plane had sunk, and so that search was called off. Then a private search began, funded by a GoFundMe page. Professional soccer players from around the world, Kylian Mbappé from France, donated 30,000 euros, and they raised over 375,000 euros to fund this private search that was primarily done underwater, and that's where the wreckage was found.
Remarkable support from the soccer community. What has been the reaction among soccer players about what happened here?
You know, it's interesting. I think a lot of people think about professional sports teams and professional athletes flying in private planes. They imagine big jets. In Europe, it's a little bit different. I mean, these kinds of flights happened a lot. There are a lot of players at smaller clubs going to smaller cities like Nantes and Cardiff. And so I think there was a real reaction like, okay, this could have happened to a lot of people.
So it's personal to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, the manager of Cardiff City, the manager who would have been Emilio Sala's new coach, he said he had flown on a plane just like that to go to scout Sala.
And I understand there was a lot of outpouring of support during the games.
Yeah, absolutely. I was at a match last week. It would have been Sala's first match in London against Arsenal. It was a real outpouring of support, not only from the traveling Cardiff fans, but from the Arsenal fans as well. I think everybody recognizes that this is the kind of tragedy that really hits to the core of, you know, humanity.
You know, you look at those pictures, you see how heartbreaking it is. I can't imagine what his family's going through. What have they been saying?
Yeah, I think initially the family was really focused on continuing the search. You know, they wanted closure. They wanted to know what had happened. Obviously, after several days had gone by, they focused, you know, on trying to deal with the shock and the grief. Lately, I think everybody was touched when they saw a photo that Emiliano Sala's sister posted of his dog, Nala, I wrote about in the story, who she said, you know, he had planned to take Nala with him to Wales, and she put a picture up that talked about how even Nala is waiting for him to come home.
There's that picture of the dog looking outside the door right there, waiting for Sala to come home. So what's next in the investigation?
You know, like I said, I think the next step is to figure out how to get the wreckage up to confirm what body, whose body is on board there, and how to do that in a way that is both, you know, efficient but also doesn't disturb the scene, because there is an investigation. There are still a lot of questions about what happened to that plane. A lot of questions, and I think, unfortunately for Emiliano Sala's family, not a lot of satisfying answers at this point.
Such a tragic situation involving one of soccer's biggest stars. Thank you so much, Sam. I know you're going to stay on top of this. As you have updates, please let us know.
Absolutely. Thanks very much.
Sure.